Good evening to each and every one of you. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good and his mercy endureth forever. Good to see you all on tonight for this greater intelligence session on tonight. Let us know that you are in the virtual space. Let us know that you are ready for the word. Good to see you all as you all are coming in. Tawana Nelson, good to see you. Pray that you are healing well. Lois Aikens, good to see you as always. Veronica Jones, good to see you as well. So let us know that you guys are in the space on tonight. Sis Peaches, good to see you as well. So come on in, introduce yourself, let me know that you are here. It is December 5th. It is the first Tuesday of the final month of this year. We won't spend the entirety of the month with you. So we got a couple of more weeks, maybe about 2 more weeks before we shut it down to celebrate the holidays and to gear up for year 2024. So guess what? We're almost there. We're almost there. All year long, we have been in greater. We've been the GI series, greater intelligence. It seems like I've been in it for longer than that because God gave me this GI series thing back in 2022. As we were focusing on greater, wanted to kind of approach the Bible study in a different way to focus more on intelligence. So it gives us an opportunity to be a little topical, to talk about some taboo subjects and to kind of intertwine that with the word of God. Everything we do, no matter what the topic is always it always has a biblical foundation. So we are always excited to teach you the word of God. If you know anything about me, you know the greatest thing I love to do is to teach the word of God. I can do that all day. All right. I want to get right into our today's assignment. Tawana Rogers, you'll probably be blessed by this message, this lesson on tonight. Romans. We closed this year in spiritual intelligence. We've been dealing with all areas of intelligence: emotional intelligence, personal intelligence, relational intelligence, financial intelligence, and the list goes on and on. But we closed out the year on spiritual intelligence, really learning more about God from an intellectual perspective. So last week we talked about a little bit about ourselves, right? Swift and slow. To be swift to hear, but slow to speak. We know it's through our listening that we learn, right? It's through our listening that we are able to do things. And so we talked about that on last week. But Romans 8:28, that's right. Romans 8:28. You already know it, Sister One. Of Romans 8:28 is what we're going to dissect on tonight. Romans 8:28. You already know it. You can say it with me in concert. And we know that all things work together for the good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. Say that with me. And we know all things work together for the good of them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. This particular passage is so powerful. I can only cover that one verse, and I can spend the entirety of our time together in this one verse. That's right. Cleandra, like and share if I hadn't said it already. Always want you to like and share, tag someone, let them know that they're getting ready for a powerful thing on tonight, powerful word on tonight. I want to talk about, from a topical standpoint, something you need to know. There is something you need to know. Put that in the comment section. Something I should know. Something. There is something that I should know. You know, in this greater intelligence and in life, we don't know everything, right? We're not intelligent. We don't have a great intellect for everything. There's some things we're gonna be novice about. There's some things we're gonna be, dare I say, ignorant about, and that's okay. There's a very thin line between intelligence and ignorance, right? There's a very thin line. In one aspect of your life, you can have great intelligence, but you can flip the coin and you are ignorant, right? There are just some things, and that's okay. We're not all intelligent in all areas of our lives. But tonight, I want to talk about There's one thing you should know. You may not know everything, but there's something you should know. You want to know what that something is? I give it to you. Paul says it. Here's what you should know. All things are working together. That's good news. If I don't know anything else, I should at least know this, that all things are working together. Somebody shout things, 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 things. I love the fact that Paul prefaced this by saying things, because by him saying things, that helps us to understand that covers the whole gamut, right? Things. He didn't just say this particular occasion, this particular situation. He says things. He makes it as bland as he possibly can. He makes it as general as he possibly can. So you need to know that there are some things happening in your life right now. I wish I could see you, because I would ask you to raise your hand and maybe you can raise it with an emoji. Are there some things happening in your life right now? There's some things I can't explain. There's some things I don't understand. There's some things I don't even want to talk about. I've got things happening in my life. Some are complex, some are simple, some are short term, some are long term, some are fun, some are aggravating. Some of the things that are happening, they make me cry. Some of the things make me laugh. Some of the things that's happening makes me upset. Some of the things that are happening makes me confused. Some of the things that are happening make me feel great about life. Some of the things make me want to throw in the towel. I've got some things. Somebody shout, I got things. I got things going on in my life. My life is not boring at all. And I thought when I retired, I thought when I got older that I would just have this boring life on a rocking chair sitting on my front porch. But that's not my life. I got things going on. Being a child of God does not exempt you from having things going on. Someone once said, if it's not one thing, it's another thing. But the things never stop coming. I've got some things. So the one thing you need to know is that Paul says all of these things. You need to know something about all these things. But I want to talk about things for a moment, because Cleandra, what I've understood and what I believe in life, that when all of these things start happening, they start coming in a rapid pace. They start coming in succession. In other words, one after another, that the things never stop. The things never cease. It's never quiet. It's never dull. It's never just a period of silence where nothing is happening. Here's what tends to happen. We get concerned about the things. Oh God, our concern. I want to talk about that. The concern about the things. We get concerned about the things because when we run into things that we don't understand, when we run into things that we can't explain, when we run into things that are complex, when we run into things that sometimes are bad news, what ends up happening is we get concerned. We get perplexed. For some of us, we panic because we don't understand what's happening. And so there is a great concern. And some of you can be honest tonight that can say, Pastor, there's some things that are happening in my life, and I'm going to be honest, I'm concerned. I went to the doctor, and based upon what he says or what he thinks he sees, I'm concerned. I'm at the point of my life that these things concern me. When I was younger, they didn't concern me as much. But I'm a little older now, and these things concern me. I wish I had help in the room tonight. I'm concerned about these things. When I ran into a financial situation when I was younger, man, I could work a few hours of overtime and I would get through it. But man, the overtime don't even pay as much as it used to pay. Between things going up and the pay coming down or staying the same or not staying at the same progression as the bills, now this financial situation concerns me. When I had pain in my body, it didn't concern me as much. I healed quickly. My bones healed. I can bounce back up. I can shake it off. But now I deal with certain medical situations and they concern me. I want to talk about the concern about our thing. We get overly concerned. It's one thing to be concerned, it's another thing to be overly concerned. Overly to the concern to the level of panic. Overly concerned to the level of worrying. Oh God, help me tonight. We're concerned, but some things reaches to a level of being overly concerned. It's like our children, right? We talked about this on Sunday, a few Sundays ago. Bless you, Brother Sean. We talked about this a few Sundays ago about parenting, right? And no matter what age or stage your child is, that's going to still be your baby. That's going to be your pumpkin. I told you that's what my mom says about me. No matter what I accomplish in life, no matter what age, no matter what my position, I'm a whole pastor, I'm a whole business owner, but to my mama, I'm just her baby. And she has a concern, but you've got to monitor the concern. You got to make sure that that concern doesn't rise to the level of being overly concerned. If you look at the meter of concern, you got to make sure it's not bleeding into red, because that's overly concerned. Your concern is going into overdrive. And when you're concerned about anything, anybody, or any situation goes into overdrive, now you reach the level of panicking. Now you've reached the level of worrying. Now you've reached the level that God doesn't want you to reach. And so he says this in his word. He says this when we find ourselves being overly concerned. For those that were on our Bible, on our prayer line this morning, you remember this word. Don't worry about anything. It didn't say don't be concerned. It says don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. So when you reach that, when you find your worry or your concern reaching the red levels, when you sense yourself going into a state of worrying, of panicking, he says, don't do it. When you find yourself going there, he says, here's what I want you to do. Stop worrying and start praying. Can you just put that in the chat so I know that you got it? Stop worrying, start praying. Come on, help me tonight. Stop worrying, start praying. Stop panicking, start praying. Yeah, we get concerned about these things, so much so that we forget that we serve a God that is able to handle these things. When we are concerned about something, when we get overly concerned about something, we get to that state of being overly concerned, typically because we've reached a state that is beyond our control. But you've got to remember, it was never yours to handle by yourself anyway. It was never your situation to control anyway. It was never your duty to be overly concerned about it anyway. You've heard me say it, and I'll say it to myself. If it's his will, it's his bill. I have a desire to grow and to build Zion from a numerical standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a physical standpoint. I get concerned at times, but guess what? I can't get overly concerned even about the building process, even about the state of finances, even about the state of those who may come or not come to church. I could be concerned, but I can't find myself getting to the overly concerned. And when I reach that level, I can't go into panic. I got to stop panicking and start praying. That's a good word for somebody right now. There's something you need to know. And here's what you need to know. Whenever you reach the level of being overly concerned, that is your moment where you got to stop panicking and start praying. Why? Because you know something. See, when you pray, It's when you talk to God. We talk to God because we know who God is. We talk to God because we know what he's capable of doing. If you don't understand and fully acknowledge or know a person's capability, you won't ask them for stuff. Oh, that's what I told you a few weeks ago. You got to know what you need to know, because you got to know that God is God. He say, be still and do what? Know that I am God. He said, I need you to know that I am God. Because if you don't know that I am God, you won't bring God type level. You won't bring God type of situations to me. I like to translate that verse when he says, be still and know that I am God. I like to add my little Austinism to it. What is that? Be still and know God says that I am God. I like to add this part for my own personal preference, and I am not. Be still and know that he is God and you are not. Also, be still and know that he is God and I am not. Yeah, because I get overly concerned about it to the point that I'm panicking, to the point that I can't live my life, to the point that it keeps me up at night. You know what it's like to be overly concerned about it. You can't sleep, you toss and turn about whatever, that child, that bill, that situation. He says it's okay to be concerned, but don't reach a level of being overly concerned. It doesn't mean that you don't do anything. It means that after you've done everything within your power to do, he says, don't panic about it. Start praying about it. Somebody shout concerns. Concerns. We get concerned about things. But this is what he says, Charlotte. He says, listen, and we know. What do we know? Let's get into it. He says, and we know all things. And we know. And we know. Somebody shout all things. And we know all things. First thing, second thing I want to talk about is, after we get concerned about certain things, I want you to understand the calculation of things. Somebody shout calculations. He says all things. When you calculate the things that are going on in your life, I want you to calculate every single thing. He says all things. Why is that important? Why is that important? To calculate all of the things? I'm calculating all of the things because I'm trying to figure out who gets the credit for all of the things. Boy, y'all, I'm teaching better than some of y'all are listening. I got to calculate all things because I need to give full credit for all of the things. See, sometimes in life, we don't calculate all of the things concerning God. We separate certain things of being for the devil. Teach, pastor. We calculate certain things as being under Satan's control. But Paul says, and we know not the good things, not the great things. He says, and we know all things. So when you're doing your calculations, do it in totality, because at some point you're going to give some credit. And the question is, who are you going to give the credit to? Okay, you're not listening. Job has raised his hand to testify. He's on the witness stand. He says, I want you to read chapter number 1 of my story. I want you to understand that the devil was walking around to and fro seeking who he may devour. And God has this conversation with Job. God has this conversation with the devil. He says, have you considered my servant Job, that he is none like him? There's none like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and eschews evil. He says, yeah, I had Job on my hit list, but here it is. Here's why I haven't been able to talk. You got a hedge of protection around him. The devil says it's not as if I haven't been trying, but I haven't been able to get to him. You got him protected. He says, okay, you're right. I do. Here it is. I'm going to give you permission. Do what you want to do with him. Verse 12, I'm skipping down. Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on this person. So Satan went from the presence of God. God said, okay, you're right. I've been protecting him. I've had his hedge, man. And when I protect you, you better rest assured. When God protects you, you've been protected. God, that's a shouting moment right there, because some of you have been under protection. You don't even know it. So you think you're going through right now. You don't even understand. You've been under sovereign protection. The devil has been trying to absolutely destroy you, and he hasn't been able to touch you because God has been protecting you. He says, "But okay, so I want you to know something about this brother. He gonna still belong to me after this is over. So you do what you want to do. You just can't kill him." So why did I bring that up? I brought that up to let you know that if we didn't have Job chapter number 1, we would have chopped that attack and gave that credit to the devil. Oh, you miss everything I just said. We would have took that situation. Oh, he's being attacked by the enemy. And that's true. The devil does attack. But what we see in the text, that the devil can't do nothing without God's permission. You miss your shout right there. You miss your shout right there. Why is that important? Because I am never going to give more credit to the devil, even in his attacks. I'm not going to give him glory. Even when he attacks me, I'm not going to give him credit, because I understand that anything the devil does to me, he's still under God. He's still under God's control. He can't touch me. He can't do anything to me that God has not allowed him to do. So even in the midst of that, when I calculate it, I'm still giving God the credit, because I understand that the fact that I'm going through and I'm still surviving, that's never the enemy's intention for you to survive. He wants to kill, steal, and to destroy you. But the fact that you're still standing is a representation that the devil is under divine control. So even in the midst of an attack, I can still say, to God be the glory. In the midst of me going through, I can still say, to God be the glory. In the midst of me going through a financial crisis, I can still say, if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, where would I be? Because everything, when I do the calculations, I gotta know that all of the things, somebody shout, all of the things, this and that. I dare you. I don't want you to mess. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're driving. I don't know if you're at work. I don't know if you're in your house, but I don't want you to tear anything up. But I want you to right now start thinking about all of the things. All of the things that have been happening to you in your life. The good, the bad, the ugly. All of the things. Yeah, that too. Oh, yeah, that too. Somebody shout, yeah, that too, yeah, that too. Whatever it is that's coming up, that too. Yeah, that too, that too. Yeah, yep, that too. That one too. Yeah, you mean that one too? Yeah, that one too. Because Paul says all of the things. Don't miss one thing. He says, and we know. There's something you need to know. What do I need to know? Paul says, I need you to know that all things means everything. All things means there's not one thing that has happened that wasn't meant to happen. No thing catches God by surprise. Can I say that one more time? No thing catches God by surprise. Just because it caught you by surprise doesn't mean it caught God by surprise, because there's nothing catches God by surprise. So when you do the calculations, I want you to calculate all of the things. I don't want you to have a God section and a Satan section. No, all of the things have been manipulated by God. Somebody shout, all things. We don't just serve a God of the good. We serve the God of the all. We don't like this type of teaching. We only relegate the good things. You don't read your Bible when you do that. But when you read your Bible, you recognize that God calls some unfavorable things to happen in the life of his people. But it was still manipulated and controlled by the hand of God. Somebody shout all things, all things, every single thing. Single thing. James backs this up with this statement. James backs this up with this point of teaching tonight. He says this, brethren, here it is, count it, you read it, all joy. When you start counting, count it all. And when you count it all joy. Don't just count some of it, count it all. Tell your neighbor, count it all. Somebody shout, count it all. When I start counting, when I start doing the calculations, I got to count it all. Everything in my cart, I got to count it. Everything in my cart has to get scanned. Brandon, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not going to call anybody out, but everything that I put in my cart, it's got to be scanned. He says, count it all. I got to count it all. The good, the bad, the inexpensive stuff, the expensive stuff. Don't just scan the big stuff because you know that's what they're going to check. You got to scan it all. Count it all. When you're doing the calculations, you got to, Paul says, and we know all of these things, every single last thing. Why? Because at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to get the credit for these things. And I refuse to give the credit to the enemy. So I'm going to count it all. Devil, you gets no glory. You gets no praise. You gets no honor. I'm not going to even dignify you by even bringing you into this. I'm not going to even run you away as if you have any type of say-so in the matter. Because anything you do, according to Job, you got to stop by God's office first before you even come to me. So there's nothing you can do that God has not given you permission to do. I got to go. There's something you need to know. You need to know not to be overly concerned about these things. You got to learn how to properly calculate things. He says all things. But then let's look at it again. We're almost done. I told you, it's one verse. And we know all things, here it is, work together. Somebody shout together. So number one, talked about the concern, how we get concerned about things. Number two, we talk about the proper way to calculate or the calculation of the things. But then I want you to look at the collaboration of the thing. There's something you need to know, and you need to understand the collaboration of it. What's the collaboration? He says all things work together. It's a collab. It's a collaboration. You know what collaboration is when two things come together for the same purpose and the same goal. It's like two artists that come together to make a song. It's a collaboration. When two churches come together for a worship experience, that's a collaboration. When one entity joins together with another entity, that's a collaboration. Paul says you need to know that everything that has been happening in your life has been working in a collaboration. That's good news right now, because the enemy wants us to believe that the things that are going on in our lives have been through contrast, or they're conflicting each other, they're contradicting each other. Paul says, no. This is a collaboration. This is all of these things are mixed together. They are part of the ingredients to the recipe. That you need all of these things to work together. They're not working in isolation. They're working in collaboration. They're not working in isolation. They're working in collaboration. They're not working against you. They're working Oh God, they're working in collaboration. It's not a competition, it's a collaboration. God, help me tonight. Help me tonight. The enemy wants you to focus and make it confrontational. It is not a competition, it's a collaboration. You need both. You know what a collaboration is? It's sunshine and rain. Yeah, the sunshine and the rain, believe it or not, they're not in competition, they're in collaboration. Your grass, ask your grass needs the collaboration in order for the grass to be green. So the grass can ill afford competition. In other words, the sun just want to shine. I just want to beat up. I just want my sun to shine. I just want to shine. I want to shine. Your grass says, okay, I understand, son, you want to shine, but I need you to allow the rain to fall. And when the rain start falling, the rain like, I just want to do my job. I just want to rain, rain, rain. And the grass says, no, I know you want to rain, but I need some sun. Because too much of any of it will kill it. God, you don't want this lesson tonight. You don't want this lesson tonight. We don't like collaboration. When it's sunny, when it's all good, we love it, we praising. And too much of any good thing, too much of anything can ultimately be your downfall. So you need collaboration. We need sunshine and rain. We go up and down. We go back and forth. That's collaboration. Your life, I know it's hard because you may be in a rough season right now and you just feel like it's just one thing. It's just rough, 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 rough. Trust me, it's not going to stay rough always. It's going to balance out. It's going to balance itself out. The enemy wants you to die in the storm. He wants you to die when the lightning is flashing and the thunder is rolling because he doesn't want you to understand and appreciate the collaboration. He don't want you to understand that while the rain is falling, it's strengthening you. It's building your character. It's building your intestinal fortitude. It's building up your faith. It's building up your trust. It's building up your ability to lean and depend on God. That's what the rain is for. Because the truth be told, there are a lot of things we learn about God in the rain that we never see in the sun. There's some abilities we learn about God in the rain that we'll never tap into in the sun. So it's a collaboration. He says all of these things are not working competitively. They're working in collaboration. They are working together. Somebody shout together. It's what makes Zion great. It's no competition. It's a collaboration. I say all the time, it's myself and Pastor Brandon primarily in the preaching moment, and so many people ask, how does that work? It's simple. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. It's a collaboration. Man, I can't wait. I can't wait for him to return. I've done more preaching consecutively than I've done in years. I cannot wait to sit down and hear another word because it's not a competition. It's a collaboration. It all works together. You ever, for those of you that cook out there, you ever seen or taste something that was dominant, something that was too salty or was too sweet or too, you know what I mean. It dominated. It's good, but it's too much salt. It's too much, it's too much because the ingredients are supposed to be done in collaboration. It's not a competition. So many churches fail because of competition. It's not a competition. We work together. We work together. It's a team. Things that are happening in your life, believe it or not, they work together. They work together. That's what you need to know in your life. And man, this is just a part. This is just a piece of my puzzle, man. This is just a piece. I may not know what it's for. I may not know the reason for it, but I gotta accept the fact this is just a piece of my puzzle. This is just something for me to reflect back on. And when I'm giving a testimony or when I'm helping somebody, I'm able to look back on this moment and say, man, I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I remember that I was in a season of my life when I too wanted to give up, when I too wasn't making enough money, when I too was struggling financially. And I'm here to tell you that somehow, some way, God gave me strategy, God gave me ability, God gave me a blessing. He gave me favor, gave me increase, and I didn't even see it coming. And I'm here to tell you what God did for me, he'll do it for you. But you won't be able to tell anybody that if you don't embrace this season that you're going through right now, because you got to understand that this season was not designed for your death. It's been designed for your development, because this too part of your life has been done in collaboration. It's a collab. It's a collab, man. He said they're working together. We're working together. We're working together. We're not in competition. Thank you, Pastor Phillips, one of the greatest pontificators of divine biblical truth. Awesome man of God. Preach for you name it. He's preached for them. Love his ministry. He's serving the kingdom. It's not competition. When he turns on his phone, thousands of people tune in. I'm thankful for the tens or maybe hundreds. But guess what? It's not a competition. It's collaboration, because we're all teaching and preaching Jesus. Paul says there's something you need to know. Number one, you need to understand not to be overly concerned about certain things. Number two, you need to learn how to calculate these things. He says all things. You need to understand the collaboration. He says these things are working together. I'm done. I spent less than an hour with you. I want you to understand the conclusion of the things. What is the end gonna be, Paul? How's this thing going? How's this thing gonna close out? He said, "I'll tell you how it's gonna close out. It's gonna close out for your good." Lord have mercy. All things are working together for good, for good, for good, for the good, for the good. You got to understand, watch this. The reason why many of us get frustrated and intimidated about trials and tribulations that come in your life, because we're more concerned about my good. Oh, God, teach this thing tonight. I'm trying to do my best. We're overly concerned about things turning out for my good. Can I give you the collaboration method again? Can I give you the team effort again? Paul says they're working together for the good, and the good may not always be your good. God, okay, come. We got Miami Dolphins. I'm just going to use them. We got perhaps a lot of Dolphin fans, right? And the Miami Dolphins have figured out how to accumulate a whole bunch of talent, man. I mean, they got burners, man. They got Austin Rivers. They got Braxton Berrios. Got Jalen Wallow. They have Tyreek Hill. They got A-Chan at running back. I mean, these guys can blow, man. These guys are superstars on any other team. But what makes a great team is when you have a number of good players. They got a number of good players, right? They got a number of good players. And it's amazing that they're in the winningest season of perhaps many of our lifetimes when they have this collection of talent. You want to know why? Because great teams normally have a great collection of talent. You got to have a great collection of talent, right? There was Dan Marino, there was Duper and Clayton. Great collection of talents. But watch this. In order for there to be team success, the wide receivers and the running backs can't just be focusing on my good, my stats, my performance. We know Tyreek Hill is trying to break a record. But guess what? The success of him is also a reflection of the entire team. So if God has graced him to perhaps be able to win a record, Jalen Wallo is just as great as Tyreek Hill. But his success equals team success. And what Waddle understands is, guess what? If Tyreek Hill is great and he's collecting double teams, he's not going, sometimes they're going to double team him, and guess what happens? I'm wide open. But if I'm more concerned about my good, and I'm going into the locker room, and after every game, I'm frustrated because I didn't get as many catches as him. I don't have as many yards as him, and it's because I'm just simply focusing on my good and not the good. We've got to understand that you don't even understand what's really good for you. When you understand, I told you a few minutes ago, when you understand that he is God and you are not, you begin to understand, just like some of your children had to understand, that you know better what's good for them than they do. They think they know, but as their parent, you know what's good for them. Well, guess what? We're God's child. And because we're God's child, we have to and fully recognize that the good may not always equate to my good, but because he's God, it's going to always work together for my good, even when I didn't realize it was for my good. You better teach this thing, Pastor. I'm trying to do the best I can. Sometimes we will omit certain things. Let's be honest. There are certain things we've gone through, and we've come on the other side of that victorious, but let's be honest. There are some things we wouldn't have even gone through because we didn't like it. We wouldn't have signed up for that. If I'd have told you, yeah, you're going to be victorious, but you got to do that, we wouldn't have signed up for it because it wasn't going to feel good. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. We all like to feel good. We all like to feel good, man. That's why we go to the dentist and ask for Novocaine. I know you got to do some work on me, but let's at least numb me. I want to feel good. I don't want to feel all that pain. Are you kidding me? Who's going to sign up for that? Man, we got a drill. Got to take your tooth out. You want us to want to shoot you up? Absolutely, Doc. You better. So we get so focused on our good, but we don't understand that it's not working together for my good. It's for the good. And the good will ultimately equal my good. That's the conclusion, y'all. That's something you got to know. It's going to conclude working together for the good. It's not working against you, it's working for you, for your good. That's why Jesus had to say, man, I'm on my way to Calvary, and this thing is hurting, it's painful. And he had to pause for a moment when he recognized I'm thinking about my good. And when he started thinking about his good, he almost aborted his assignment. He said, God, can't there be another way? Because he was tired, he was hurting, he was bleeding. Can there be another way? You see how close Jesus was to aborting his assignment because he was focusing on his good? Y'all better listen to this tonight. Some of us are close to aborting an assignment because we're concerned about our own comfortability. And God said, this ain't even about you. This ain't about your good. This is about the good. Jesus, you're dying for the sins of the world for the good, not your good. He said, okay, I get it, God. Nevertheless, not my will. Let your will be done. Focusing on his good almost caused him to quit. Focusing on his good almost caused him to abort the assignment. But he had to reflect. Am I doing this for my good, or am I doing this for the good? There's somebody I'm talking to tonight. God has you on a particular assignment. He's causing you to do something in this season, and it's going to be based upon your ability to be uncomfortable. He's testing your pain tolerance. He's trying to figure out what you can endure, what you can bear. Because the testimony that he has inside of you it's gonna hurt. It's hurting like hell, but it's not for your good. It's for the good. And everything that's happening to you has been working together. Can't you see it? It's been working together. You can't even draw a map as to how you got here, but you're here because it's been working together. If it wasn't working together, you would have died in it. You would have died from it, but you're still surviving in it because it's been working together for the good, for those who love God, because you're called according to his purpose. Somebody shout, I got purpose on my life. I'm done. I need to know that. There's some things you need to know. You need to know not to be overly concerned about situations. You need to learn how to properly calculate situations. You need to understand the collaboration of situations, but you gotta know the conclusion of the thing. The conclusion of it is it's gonna work together for the good. Hang on in there, child of God. Keep pressing, keep pushing. It's gonna work together for the good. It's like taking that medicine. It's like taking that Father John's. It's like taking that old stuff, man. That Buckley's, that old stuff that they don't have on the shelf anymore. It's amazing how the drug stores take all of the good stuff off the shelf. Man, you know it was real good because when it was time to take it, you were running and hiding, and you can hear your grandmother's voice say, "This may not be good to you." Whew, but God knows it's good for you. That's my word for you tonight. There may be something you're going through. You about to quit. You about to give up because it don't feel good. It don't sound good. It don't taste good. And I'm here to tell you, it may not be good to you, but God knows it's good for you. It's good for your praise. It's good for your testimony. So you ain't going through nothing. You're going to be a boring person in church. You ain't going to say amen. You ain't going to shout. You going to do nothing. You ain't got nothing to shout about. But man, when you start going through, when you got a testimony, you can't wait to get in church. You singing with the choir, don't even know the words. How did I get like this? How did I become such an amazing worshiper, praiser? It's because you've been through something. No test, no testimony. May not feel good in the moment. May not even sound good when you hear a report. You heard the report from the doctor. You heard the report from the lawyer. You heard what was pending, and it did not sound good. I'm going to tell you, it's going to work together for your good. That's something you need to know, and we know all things. Somebody shout all things, the good, the bad, the cancer, the layoff, the foreclosure, the repossession, the whatever it is, the divorce, the separation. It's going to work together. Even the separation has made you a better person. The divorce made you a better person. You could not see it then, but you will see it now. Many are the affliction of the righteous, but the Lord delivered us out of them all. So much so that the psalmist says it was good that I was afflicted. Do you know how mature you have to be to say it was good that I was afflicted? Come on now. When you look back over, I've heard some people say going to jail saved my life. It was good that I was afflicted. I needed to go through that. I needed that thorn. Paul says there was a thorn in my flesh. I prayed and it would not come out. And I realized and I prayed I wanted to come out. But then he says, his grace is sufficient. It was good that I had been afflicted. That's what Paul said. I didn't even realize I needed that thorn. I needed that. He says, God gave it to me. You read it in Corinth. He says, I gave it to me because I was elevated in pride out of the abundance of, I was so high, stuck up in the air, bougie, arrogant, prideful. God stuck me. I got to go. That's a whole nother lesson. How can God lift you without losing you? Paul said I was arrogant. I was stuck up, so God pricked me. And I asked him to take that out of me. And he said, no, I'm not going to take it out of you. And it was then I discovered that his grace was sufficient and that it was good that I had been afflicted, man. Sometimes you go to the hospital for one thing and they see something else, and you say, man, if I had never gotten that, they wouldn't have never saw that. It was good that I was afflicted, man. If they hadn't have fired me from my job, I wouldn't have never started the business. They had never reduced my salary, I never would have been an entrepreneur. If the economy had not just tumbled, I never would have stepped into another arena, another gift. It was good. God had to shake me up. God had to get me to the point that I can't live like this, man. Let me tap into some other sources of income. Let me tap into my potential. I done got comfortable on this job, and God keep raising the price, raising my rent to the floor. He's forcing me to tap into some other gifts and talents and abilities and anointing. And you can say it was good for that to happen. God knows I didn't want it to happen. God knows I didn't want to pay another dime more in rent, mortgage, or anything else. But if I had stayed where I was, I would have been comfortable. And now you're saying it was good that that happened. Because you got to know that all things work together for the good. I can do this all night, but my time is up, man. If this word blessed you tonight, I want you to do me a favor. Number one, I want you to let me know this word blessed me tonight. Number two, I want you to be intentional about sharing this message. Many of you have heard it live, but you know that this word can help somebody in your circle, somebody in your family, somebody on your job. There's a simple way you can click a link, share it, text it out, and say, hey, man, you need to watch this. There's some things going on in your life that this word will help you. There's something you need to know, and that's all things are working together for the good. I enjoyed our time together tonight. Listen, as always, we don't make a big emphasis about giving, but it's always a good opportunity. If you want to sow, man, if you want to sow into this work, you want to sow into our ministry here at the Zion Church, we're able to come to you in this method of excellence because of the giving of God's people. So we invite you to sow. There's not a particular amount you want to sow, but we give you that opportunity. If God's laying in your heart to sow a seed into this ministry, you can absolutely do that. There's no pressure, but I do believe that God always loves and honors a cheerful giver. Man, if you're not fully connected to our church, I invite you to join us every Sunday at 9 a.m. Currently, we're in a series called Greater Faith. Man, I got a word entitled, I don't know what I believe. That's the word, man. I'm telling you, I'm excited about this last Sunday, man. It was amazing. We talked about I need a raise, man. God, I need you to increase my faith. God is up to something amazing at the Zion Church, and I'm just proud to know that God is using us for such a time as this. Listen, to all of our ministry leaders, this point of announcement, if you're in any of these ministries, LOZ, media, ushers, deacon, deaconess, hospitality, I need your presence here for our mini training camp. We're going over policies and procedures and how to operate in the spirit of excellence. You know, going into 2024, excellence is the new standard. We cannot be excellent without coming together to perfect excellence in our own ministry. So I want you to be tap into, we start everything on time. We're going to be early before we're late. So I want you to mark your calendars and be present. As you can tell by the times, we're not going to hold you all day, but it's our opportunity to serve the people that God has placed in our lives with the spirit of excellence. And we're going to do that this coming Saturday. All right. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. I absolutely love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. And I hope to see you real soon. Don't forget, all things are working together for your good. Be blessed.